You ever watch a grown woman call in a SWAT team on a pregnant lady over a parking spot? Yeah, that happened right here on my own lawn under the same old oak tree my dad planted before I was born. Folks say every neighborhood has a Karen, but Colleen Durrett, she put the K in Kafkaesque. Clipboard HOA badge heels that clacked like a warning shot. She thought she owned the dirt under my mailbox, and she acted like the bylaws were commandments straight from above. So there I was, early morning, just watching my sister's car, barely nudging the curb, when Colleen marched up, jaw set, voice sharp as a lawyer's letter. She can't be parked here, not without a guest form on file. That was her greeting. And my sister Leah was 7 months pregnant, sick, just trying to rest up for her delivery. You know what I mean? I almost laughed until Colleen pulled out her phone and started dialing. I asked, "You're really calling the cops on a pregnant woman because her tires are touching the line?" Colleen's smile didn't even twitch. Rules are rules. That vehicle's been here more than 48 hours. See, Colleen loved her rules, but she loved power even more. And she picked the wrong guy to try and steamroll. I worked digital forensics, spent years consulting for law enforcement, fixing their body cam footage, making sure the truth survives, even when the story gets twisted. I know how to fight with facts. I never stop recording. And this time she picked a fight on my field. Now let me back up a sec. This all started because of an oak tree. That's right. My father's tree, the same one Leah sat under every afternoon when her doctor said to stay calm, keep stress down. Colleen tried to find me over that tree last year, said the roots disrupted symmetry. She never really cared about the lawn, though. It was all about control. Folks like her power isn't real unless they can use it to scare you. The week before the raid, Colleen was on her warpath, circling driveways, eyeing trash bins, writing up families of color for the tiniest violations. She fined the Corderos for a scooter left on the sidewalk. She forced a Vietnam vet out over his flag, then bought his house through some shell company. The woman was like a python, squeezing always just inside the law, but always aiming for the folks least able to fight back. So when Leah moved in for a few weeks, doctor's orders, my co-owner, my family, I thought we'd just keep our heads down. But Colleen saw a target. That afternoon, Leah was under the oak, feet up, watching the clouds, trying not to cry. Colleen walked past again and again, circling like a hawk, until even Leah started glancing over her shoulder. And then, just like a bad movie, a patrol car cruised past, slow, real slow. No lights, no siren, just enough to rattle the nerves. Next thing I know, there's a violation notice taped to our front door. Unauthorized occupancy, guest violation, vehicle obstructing sidewalk. Compliance deadline, 48 hours. It wasn't even from the board, just Colleen's personal theater. But she didn't realize I was documenting everything too. That night I caught Mark Haynes, HOA secretary, looking guilty by his mailbox. He's the kind of guy who always looks like he wants to apologize but never does. I walked up slow. "You out here on board business, Mark?" He dodged my eye. I said, "She shouldn't have called them. And you know it." He stammered, "I'm not the president. I didn't make the call." I pressed him. "But you were at the emergency meeting. You saw the agenda." He went pale. It was unofficial. No vote. He never thought Colleen would actually do it. Never thought a SWAT team would roll up on my pregnant sister over a parked car. 2 days later it happened. Before sunrise, glossy cardstock envelope, summons for a compliance review. Leah read it, hands shaking. Her doctor had already said the stress was a problem. "She's not going to stop," Leah whispered. "No," I said, "but I will." See, Colleen thought she could drown us in paperwork. But I knew where her power ended, right where the evidence begins. I remembered the SWAT officer who hesitated at the door, glanced back at Colleen's clipboard. That wasn't nerves. That was confusion. And in law enforcement, confusion gets logged. So I dug up the body cam data because 3 years ago, I built the department's review software. Let's just say I still knew the back door. I found the raw footage. 4 officers, 2 cams running, one with a corrupted timestamp, one perfect. I watch the moment the door kicks in. Leah screams, officer shouts. Dispatch said possible drug activity. I'm not seeing it. Then clear as day, you see Colleen hand the clipboard to a deputy. Her red ink circles known risk. That was the moment the lie live on camera. She didn't just call in a false report. She framed my sister as a threat. I encrypted everything, made backups, then drafted a complaint to the magistrate. Didn't even mention the video yet, just the dates, the contradictions, the language Colleen used. That was enough to start the wheels turning. But I needed more. I pulled the 911 call log. Suspicious person, possibly armed, dark-skinned female pacing, maybe under the influence. I stopped reading. Leah was reading a parenting book under a blanket when Swat broke down the door. Colleen had used race and fear as weapons. I linked the 911 transcript to the body cam footage chain of custody airtight. Now I knew if I went forward, it wouldn't just be an HOA squabble. This was a civil rights violation, the kind that explodes into the open. I did it for Leah. Filed the complaint. Got a case number assigned officer. The city couldn't ignore it. Now Colleen's paper trail was up against my playback. She didn't know she'd already lost. The next morning, every mailbox in the neighborhood got a safety protocol review notice. Thinly veiled threat, no names, but everyone knew Colleen was ready for war. But I'd already called Julia, an old friend, at the state review office. Can an HOA use a fake emergency to justify a raid, I asked. Only if they want a civil liability hurricane, she replied. I sent her the evidence. Within hours, I got confirmation investigation active. I dropped a folder at Mark's house, evidence in a countdown. He looked scared, but he took it. That night, Leah whispered, "She's trying to erase me. I promise she's not going to win." That was the last time we waited in silence. The board meeting hit like a storm. Mark showed up, folder in hand, finally ready to do the right thing. He laid it all out. This isn't a compliance review. This is an attempt to rewrite history. Colleen's smile cracked. Alice Kemp. Another board member turned on her, too. Is there something we should know, Colleen? The footage played. No one blinked. After Alice said, "You made this vote necessary." 4 hands went up for censure. Majority. Colleen stood, eyes hard, voice shaking. This board has been hijacked. I said, "No, you did this." She packed her things and walked out past the board, past the crowd outside who'd seen the evidence themselves. No applause. Just the sound of a chapter closing. The neighborhood changed after that. Colleen resigned 2 days later. No apology, just silence. Rules were still rules, but now they were debated, challenged, rewritten out in the open. When a new family moved in, half the block helped unload boxes. Nobody cared about grass length or sidewalk lines anymore. I dug up the flash drive from under the oak, showed Leah the footage. She held my hand through the whole thing, said, "That's the frame where it all cracked." Then she opened the city's envelope. Colleen banned from HOA boards, the whole thing public record. Leah just smiled, didn't need revenge, just peace. That evening, Mark and Alice came by, no clipboards, just lemon bars and a baby blanket. We talked, laughed, planned for the future. Because it wasn't just about beating Colleen. It was about making sure this neighborhood finally learned what it means to stand up, to see each other, to refuse to let fear win. So what do you think? Does justice really work when the whole story's finally told? Drop your thoughts below. Ever fought back against an HOA or seen power get abused? Share your story. Maybe it's time we all start recording.